Good morning. Can everybody hear me? If you want to let me know in the chat, that'd be good. Then I can get started with the webinar. Got a Q&A. Yes. Okay, cool. That works as well. Thank you. All right. So we're going to be talking about Google, not Google My Business. We're going to be talking about Facebook ads today. Now, can everybody tell me in here who has run Facebook ads and what sort of business have you got, or if this is brand new to you? Just put it in the chat and I can use that information to make this session a little bit more detailed for you. New to this. Okay. Can you guys use the chat? Because I think you're using the Q&As. The chat should be available. Okay, Mark is new to this. That's cool. You've had a couple of times. And what sort of business have you got? You're a graphic designer. Hi, Lisa. Okay. All right. So I'm going to jump straight into this here, Ads Manager. The way this works is I will be running through how I would normally set things up, bits and pieces. We got a marketing agency. Okay. Bits and pieces of how things are connected within the actual ad account, and things that you need, things that you should be doing, things that you should not be doing, how you test your ads, and how to get the most out of it. So the hour is going to go pretty quickly, just heads up. So if you want to take any notes, make sure you do. Any questions that you might have, just drop them into the chat as we go, and I'm going to get started right now. Where is my screen? Here it is. Cool. All right, let me know if you can see my screen, and how can I actually get my Zoom thingy loading over the top? I'm not sure if I can. No, that's all good. I'm just going to do it this way. I'm going to share my screen with you guys, because obviously otherwise you will not be able to see anything that I'm doing. Had a few coffees this morning. I was up at 5 o'clock, so bear with me. I'm a little bit scatterbrained, but we'll get there. Cool. All right, so Facebook ads. There's three things that you need to know about Facebook ads. First thing is, when you want to run ads, make sure that you have an ad account. Second is, make sure you have a page, a Facebook page, because the ads that you're going to be running are going to be associated with the page. The third thing, which is very important, which most people seem to miss, is your pixel. Now, you might have heard of the pixel, the Facebook pixel, or the meta pixel as it is these days. Reason you want to use the pixel is because that is the magic that happens when Facebook is trying to optimize the ads to make sure that they send the ads to the right types of people, and you're basically optimizing your campaign. So over time, things will start running better for you. So you have an ad account, you've got a Facebook page, and you need to have that pixel. I'm going to literally jump into a dummy account that I've got that I don't use for anything else but for these sessions. And I'm going to just jump into how to create a new campaign. And like I said, the chat is open, so make sure that you ask questions. Yeah, I'll get to the pixel. I'll get to the pixel, Mark. It can get confusing, but remember the name, Facebook pixel, very important. Okay, so if we start a new campaign, main thing that we need to look at is the objective. So Facebook is going to ask us initially, okay, what are you trying to achieve with these ads? And you can see there's a lot of options here, right? So you can have awareness, traffic, engagement, or you want to go for leads, ad promotions, or sales. Biggest difference is that whatever you select here at the campaign level, which is the top level, depending on what you choose, certain features at your ad set level and your ad level will be enabled or disabled. So make sure that you pick the right objective at the very top, because otherwise everything else will have a knock-on effect. Now, typically I will start off with traffic as a basic campaign for any business, because it's essentially, okay, let's try to get some people visiting our website, right? That's purely traffic. But you can have awareness. And you can see here, awareness is good for reach, brand awareness, video views, and store location awareness. What it means is that all these objectives, Facebook has sort of signals from their audience, and they kind of know which people like to watch videos, which people are more likely to click on a buy now button, which of these Facebook users is more likely to submit a lead form, that kind of stuff. So because we select a campaign objective at the very start, You'll have certain options here. And like I said, if you have something that you're trying to do down the track with your ad set and it's not enabled, make sure you jump into your campaign objective and see if that actually needs to be changed. All right, we're going to go for traffic. Purely said, traffic is the most basic thing that you can get from Facebook. People are scrolling through their newsfeed, they see an ad, they click on learn more, click here, watch more, see now, whatever it might be, and they will be taken to whatever website or web page, I should say, you're trying to get them to. So for traffic, and this is good for link clicks, landing page views, but also to get Messenger and WhatsApp messages or even phone calls. Now, what we're going to do, by the way, Facebook will often give you some information like when you log in. So it says here, consider switching to a leads campaign. We found that lead campaigns have a 94% chance of generating more cost-effective leads than traffic campaigns. So this is basically, if I would say switch to leads, it'll flip down to the lead section. Sorry, Joel. Yes, I had a few copies. All right, I'll try to slow down. I will. So Facebook is giving us the option to say, if you want to go for traffic, but Facebook is telling us, look, we actually find that 94% of people are more likely to use the lead, or they have 94% more success with the leads. I'm going to go with traffic, like I just mentioned before, and I'm just going to hit continue. And what you'll see is as soon as I've started off the new campaign, this is the new tab that opens up, and we've got the 3 layers. So like I said, we've got the campaign, that underneath the campaign, we've got an ad set, and within the ad set, we'll have our ads. These are all connected, and basically you'll see here that that hierarchy is like traffic campaign, ad set, and ad. So if we're going to go for the campaign name, this is like naming conventions are important because once you have multiple ads running, multiple campaigns, you want to see at a glance what these things are about. You want to make sure that you understand this campaign is for traffic, this campaign might be for lead forms. So make sure that you name them accordingly, simply because even if you understand what it means, if someone else comes in from the business and is going to try to manage your account for you, they can get confused because naming could be all over the place. So what we're going to do, I'm going to just jump through these bits and pieces here. We don't have to have a category that needs to be declared. This is typically for a very, very small percentage of advertisers. So we're just going to skip that. The campaign details, we can't change anything here. This is an auction. And an auction basically means that every time multiple advertisers are trying to get in front of the same people on Facebook, Facebook is going to have some sort of an auction, like in microseconds, milliseconds, that decides which advertiser is going to be able to show their ad to that person at that specific time. So the auction depends on a few things, like how much money are you willing to spend, how relevant is your ad, what's the expected outcome of the ad, that kind of stuff. So this all happens in real time. So auction is the only option that we can choose these days. Now, within the objective here, if we made an error, we can still change it up here. So we can still go for leads in this case, but like I said, we're going to stick with traffic for this example. And then the next section here is an A/B test. Have you heard of A/B testing? Do you understand what an A/B test is? Simply said, it's a control ad, as we call it. A control ad is essentially an ad. That's our standard ad. And we might have a second ad that is very similar, but it might have a different image or a different headline or a different call to action. And an A/B test, all an A/B test does is 50% of people will see one ad, 50% of people will see the other ad. And then Facebook is going to tell us, hey, the percentage of people that actually engage with ad number 1 is higher or lower than ad number 2. And what happens there is that we can understand which creatives work better, and then we can start optimizing our campaigns. Now, the tricky part with A/B testing is it will double your budget usually, because let's say you want to spend $100 a day. Facebook is going to suggest spend $200 a day. So we can spend 100 on this one and 100 on that one. So if you have a decent sized budget, by all means, use the A/B test. If you have a smaller budget, I'm going to show you a different way to still get some A/B testing done, but at a lower cost. Then what we'll see here is the Advantage Campaign Budget Plus, or a little star icon. Everything in Facebook that has like a star icon that you can see here is essentially their AI. And this is like Facebook telling you, this is magic, this is special, just turn this button on and we'll do the AI stuff. Now, what an Advantage Campaign Budget does is our budget for the day, or our lifetime budget, gets set at the ad account level. If I have multiple ad sets underneath that campaign, so I might have an audience for New Zealand and an audience for Australia, whatever budget we set at the campaign level will be distributed evenly between the two ad sets. So if I spend $100 a day, both of those will get $50 each per day. And what happens is, because we let the AI do their work, Facebook is quickly going to assess which one of those two ad sets might work better, and they're going to start pushing the remaining budget towards one of those two. So they're going to favor one over the other simply because they believe they can get more conversions. And this is why, yeah, the little star icon is there to say, let us do the thinking for you. I would always turn that on simply because, you know, Facebook is smart, smarter than all of us. And they know what's best. Okay. Campaign budget. So we've got a daily budget option. In this case, it's just $20 a day. But we can also set a lifetime budget. A few differences is with the lifetime budget, for example, we can say the lifetime of this campaign is going to be 7 days. And what happens is, if I set a lifetime budget for $700 in this case, technically that's like $100 a day, but they can also deplete your entire budget on the first day because they think they find the right opportunities for you. But they can also deplete it at the very last day. So basically what it means is like, hey, we're going to give you $100 a day, but you're free to spend it whenever you want to spend it. The other thing is, with lifetime budget, we can actually schedule our ads. So we can say we want to run these ads in the weekend, or we don't want to run these ads in the weekend. That's something we cannot do with the daily budget here. Daily budget is essentially just, this is how much I'm willing to spend every single day. Even if you have more opportunities, Facebook, don't go over my budget. So yeah, they've got pluses and cons, both of those, but I would always go for a daily budget simply because it's the easiest way to do it for any beginner. Is everybody still with me? Did I slow down enough? And are you still following? And like I said, don't be afraid. Ask questions in the chat, because I know this can be a lot of information if you don't do this every day. Cool. All right. So what we'll look for here is, once we're happy with this, we know that we're going to be spending $20 a day, and we're not going to be A/B testing. Lots of notes. Very good. Then we're going to just jump into the next section here. So once we're happy with this, we're going to go next, and you'll see that the second part here is highlighted now, which is our ad set. Now, an ad set is typically where we do the targeting. So campaign level, we set the budget. Ad set level, we're going to say, okay, who do we want to get these ads in front of? This could be demographics, locations, different types of audiences, whatever it might be. And I'll show you an example in a minute how we would split test this. Yeah, I'll get to that, Anna. That's a bit of a it depends question, but I'll get to that. All right, so what happens here? The new traffic ad set, and we then have the conversion objective, right? So we have the campaign objective, but now we have an objective within the traffic objective where we can say, right, I want to send people to the website, or I want to send people to my app. If you have an app or WhatsApp, so people will actually send the message to WhatsApp. You can get phone calls, cancel that, or Messenger. So we're going to, once again, just purely use traffic for the website at the moment for this example. And what's going to happen is we set up a performance goal. So first and foremost, we're telling Facebook, right, I'm going to give you a landing page or a link or a URL to send people to when they click on the ad. Now, what I would like for you to do, Facebook, is I have a few options here. I want to maximize the number of landing page views. And what that means is Facebook will not count a click as a conversion unless they realize that that page has been loaded up in the browser. And this is where the pixel comes in. So the pixel is what you install on your website, and it's just a line of code, and your developer or your web people can actually get that sorted for you. It's pretty straightforward for them. And all it does is that when somebody visits your website, that pixel gets loaded into someone's browser, and it will send data back to Facebook to say, hey, we just discovered this person has visited this page, and here's some information. Now, it's all encrypted and privacy heavily guarded. So Facebook doesn't actually know specifically who the user is, but the information, the signals that they get from that pixel data is going to help them optimize your campaign for you. Now, if we search for traffic goals here, so maximize the number of landing page views means that we're going to tell Facebook, I want you to send these ads to people who you know or are more likely to actually watch the entire page load. We can also optimize for clicks, so maximize for link clicks. The problem is, excuse me, the problem is with link clicks. Somebody might accidentally click, and before the page even loads, they might drop out. They not interested in what they're actually seeing. Like, link clicks are the cheapest way to actually get some traffic, but it's also the poorest quality traffic, because essentially the ad has one job, and that's to get the click, to get the curiosity, to get people go like, hey, I want to know more about this. Then at least we want to make sure that we know that they've actually seen the landing page, right? So if they still don't convert, we know that, hey, the ad was doing its job, but the landing page might need some work. Now, if we just maximize for a number of link clicks, we don't know that issue. We can say, well, the ad was getting the click. We don't know if the landing page wasn't working or if they just dropped out, whatever it might be. So link clicks is the cheapest. A little bit more expensive is the landing page views, but I would always go for landing page views, simply because I want to make sure people actually see the page that we're sending them to. When I say more expensive or cheaper, it means that because it's an auction, Facebook charges us what's called CPM, cost per mil. Every 1,000 impressions that an ad has, you'll get charged a certain amount. And if you just optimize for link clicks, this might be $2 per 1,000 impressions. If you're optimizing for landing page views, you might be paying $4 for 1,000 impressions. We can go further. If we were to optimize for sales and purchases, you might be spending $30 or $40 for 1,000 impressions. So the higher quality the conversion event is going to be on Facebook, the more you're actually going to be paying for it. Does that make sense? Because sometimes you do need a landing page, or you can use lead forms. So you don't actually have to have a website. No, there's ways to get around that. So if you have a messenger account, for example, you can actually send it or a phone call, as you can see here. You can send people directly to your messenger on your Facebook page. So you do need a Facebook page. You don't necessarily need to have a website unless you're going to obviously start sending traffic there. All right, does it all make sense so far? Yep, cool. All right, now the next thing here, we've got a few other goals. So we can maximize daily unique reach, which just basically means we'll try to show your ads to people in your audience at least once a day. Or we want to have the maximum number of impressions, which means you're basically just spamming people that are in your audience. Facebook is just trying to get that ad out as much as they can. So my recommendation is go for landing page views. Okay, now I said in the beginning, A/B testing can double your budget, and I'm going to show you a way that's a little different. You still have a similar setup, but your budget's basically going to be whatever you set at the campaign level, so you don't have to double up. And that's called dynamic creative. Now I'll just read off the screen what it means. So provide creative elements such as images and headlines, and Facebook is automatically going to generate combinations optimized for the audience. What it means is that if I create an ad, I can say to Facebook, here are 10 different images, 5 different headlines, 2 different calls to action. Like, we have a mix of information that we can put into that ad, right? And what Facebook does every time the auction gets won by you as an advertiser, and they're going to show your ad to someone, they're going to pick a random photo, a random call to action, a random piece of body copy. And what happens is every time they serve these, we can start analyzing these elements. So once we start looking at the reviewing of how well is our campaign performing, we can say, hey, this photo with the dog was getting 10 times more clicks than the photo with the tree, whatever it might be. And what happens now is we can actually learn from that data to say, look, no more tree photos, more dog photos, because we know more people are actually clicking on these. And this is why you're effectively doing an A/B test, where you can learn what actually works for you. Because the biggest trick with Facebook advertising is not about being smart in terms of, how creative you can get. It is all about testing. It is all about having a hypothesis and say, well, I'm going to add 10 different types of images, and we're just going to see which ones actually work. We're going to take the ones out that aren't working well, and we're going to replace those with a new batch of images. And as we keep continuing to benchmark them against each other, we just optimize things. So all it is, it's about finding that winning combination as you keep optimizing. Biggest mistake I see people make is they'll just put one single ad out there and they boost it. And sometimes it works, and most of the time it doesn't work. It gets expensive. And then it's like, oh, Facebook doesn't work. It's crap, and nobody should spend their money on it. But they're not testing. They basically just, they have one raffle in the lottery, and basically they have to get lucky. Whereas the method that we're using is as many ads as we can get in there, and then find the ones that are working, and then build on top of that. That's how you would win with Facebook ads. Okay, so we're going to turn that on. And if I turn this off on the next level and the ad level, there's going to be different options. So I'm going to turn this on here. So don't forget to do that. This is pretty self-explanatory. So budgets and scheduling. So make sure you have an end date. A couple of weeks ago, I did this exact same webinar, and I forgot to turn my ads off after I did the dummy ads, and it probably cost me like $12, but I'll show you what ads Facebook actually allowed to run. So make sure that you set an end date, just in case, right? You might have an event, or you might have a sale, or there's something that's time sensitive. You don't want to be running ads after the fact that it's already gone. I see a lot of people still, a month later, they realize, oh, but we're still running these event ads, and that's cost me $400 for nothing. Plus, it makes you look a little bit silly in the eyes of people on Facebook. They go like, well, why are you advertising this thing if it's no longer available? Okay, so we've got some options here. Ad set spend limits. Now, what we can do is if we have two different ad sets, right? So we have one campaign, two different ad sets, let's say Australia and New Zealand. And when Facebook is going to favor one over the other really quickly. So let's say we've only had 500 impressions on the New Zealand ad set, and we had 1,500 impressions on the Australian one. And Facebook has basically decided, look, the $20 a day that you've given me in the campaign, we're only going to spend it on the Australian market, and New Zealand is not getting anything. Now, obviously, it's hard for us to test if one of these ad sets has a lot more impressions, because we can't really compare the same numbers. So within the ad set spend limits, what we can do is to say, look, this ad set, I want to spend a maximum of, say, $10, right? So we got $20 at the campaign level. But what it means is, like, we're telling Facebook here, look, even if your campaign budget optimization or your advantage budget is on, advanced, like, they actually changed the name recently, sorry. It used to be campaign budget optimization, but it's now the advantage budget thing we just looked at. Anyway, so we're basically saying you're only allowed to spend $10 a day on this ad set. Only use this when you kind of know what you're doing, but the options are there. That's why I'm showing you. All right, now the audiences is the targeting part, right? This is who is going to see these ads. And what I'm going to do, I've already created two different audiences for the purpose of this webinar. So I've got a New Zealand and an Australian audience, and I'm going to pick one here. And you see that my naming convention, that should be pretty clear, right? So Australian, ages 35 to 55, male, female, and they've got an affinity as small business owners. And the biggest change here is they live in Australia. And if I would select the other audience here, it's exactly the same, except they live in New Zealand. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the Australian one here. And for clarity, I'm just going to copy this here. And I'm going to rename my ad set the same as my audience, because now I can literally jump into the campaign and see at a glance, okay, this is who we're targeting with this ad set, and we can see the numbers, and we can compare. Same thing goes for the traffic campaign. The new ad set that we're going to be putting in a second. And I'm going to show you how to quickly duplicate things and make it much quicker. We've already had this. Oh, okay. Okay, cool. So everybody's still with me. So we went through, we're going to send people to the website. Then we want to make sure that they're going to be landing page views. That's the main thing we're going to be optimizing for. We turn on dynamic creative. So in the ad level next, we will be able to do some A/B testing. We're going to set an end date, and we're picking an audience here. And then obviously we are now into the placements. Now placements, you can see again, they've got a little star icon behind it again, like a little magic star icon, whatever they call it. Once again, that's Facebook saying, look, we recommend that you let us do the thinking and just select this, and we'll try to find the right placement for your ads. What if we're trying to figure out a different audience other than business owners? Yeah, you can create any audience. I'm going to jump into the audiences in a minute, and you can create any type of audience you'd like. This is purely for demonstration purposes. Yep. Okay, so what happens is we can do manual placements, and that basically means that, okay, we are telling Facebook this is where we want to have our ads to be shown. If you know what you're doing, feel free to actually jump in and manually select. Now, the most expensive ones are going to be the Facebook feed and the Instagram feed, because these are prime real estate, so to speak, because these are the ads that will pop up in your face when you're scrolling through your app. These are the most expensive ones. And what happens is you'll have certain things like the Facebook right-hand column on a desktop. That's a smaller ad. Not as many people will see that ad, and it's a cheaper placement. So yes, you can go through here and say, well, I'm going to do it all myself, but I would recommend, especially when you're new or a beginner, just use the Advantage Plus, and Facebook's system is going to try and figure out where to show your ad at what time, depending on your budget, depending on if your ideal audience is online, a whole bunch of other stuff. So let them do the thinking. So once we're done with this, we're happy with the placement. We're going to click on next. And what happens here is you can see we're in the ad level. This is where the actual ad gets built, right? And new traffic ad, I'm going to rename this to dynamic creative single image maybe. And what it does is, first and foremost, we're going to select our page, and I've got that page. If you've got an Instagram account connected to this as well, you can select your Instagram account. And what happens here now is a couple of things. If you have an online store with products, you'll have what's called a catalog. And a catalog is essentially a database of all your products. Like if you have a Shopify store, Facebook can actually sync whatever you've got in your inventory on Shopify, and they create a dynamic catalog, which means that all the product images and stuff get pulled in, and it automatically starts running these ads for you that way. But if we're going to have a very basic traffic campaign here, let's say to a basic website without any catalog, this is why it's actually grayed out, because we didn't select sills at the very objective in the beginning. And what we can do here is we can select single image or video or carousel. Now, one of the things you want to do is on the top right-hand side here, there's a little ad preview. Just flick that on, because that'll show you as we're building this ad, what it's going to look like. So one thing that I'm going to do here is we're going to send people to this website URL that will actually show us the media in a second. All right. I'm just going to pick 1, 2, 3 images. Okay, cool. So you can see that the preview now is loading, right, on the right-hand side, simply because I've given Facebook the bits and pieces that they need to actually display this demo. And you can see I selected the single image or video, and that basically means that the placement is going to look exactly like that with a single image. Dynamic creative with a catalog? No, because essentially it's already dynamic. It pulls in from your catalog. Now, if I select carousel here, you'll see that it slightly changes, and you'll get one of those where you can flip through a couple of cards, right? So what I would suggest is have 2 ads. One ad would be a single image placement, and the other ad would be a carousel. And once again, it's kind of like an A/B test. Yeah, because now we can see, okay, which of these 2 ads is actually performing better. For the sake of this demo, I'm just going to stick with the single image for now. And what we'll see is that the website creative source, by the way, if you put your own website in here, whatever images you got on the website that are that have the right format, Facebook will pull those in for you, and then you can actually use those as well. All right, the next option here, optimize creative for each person. If you turn this on or off, what happens is Facebook is going to do a few things. You'll see it here, like they might have a brighter image, they'll make it darker, they got some music in the background, so they will add random stuff in the back end, once again, to try and test to see, no worries, Ron, to see what actually works better, right? So you're giving Facebook permission to do a little bit of their magic, and it means that if I would see the ad on my end, I might have some music on the background, but if you see the same ad on your phone, it might be a brighter image, but without music. So Facebook is always trying to see, okay, which of these options is actually getting more clicks? Because at the end of the day, that's all they care about, to get the ad to give you the clicks, right? All right, primary text. This is the main copy. I can't talk today. Okay, and you'll see here that it actually added up here, that line. This is the main copy. We can have another option here. This is version 2. And you won't see the change here, but if I hit the expand button, what happens is, sorry, not that one, the advanced preview button. What happens here is you'll see that the ad there says this is the main copy, but as soon as I select this is version 2, that simply changes to version 2. Now, dynamic creative basically means that Facebook is going to show this ad. They're going to pick one of those 3 images. They're going to pick one of these 2 texts. And every time they serve an ad, and basically they're trying to figure out which of these combinations works best. Does that make sense so far? How the dynamic creative would actually be like an A/B test, like a mini version of that to get the most out of your ads. So headline goes here. Second one here. Yes. Okay, cool. So you see now that the headline has been added. That's like usually the bolded text on the bottom. Now, depending on what sort of placement I'm looking at, sometimes it's not bolded, and sometimes it gets cut off. But typically, this is what it's going to look like. Then you can add up to 5 pieces of primary text and 5 headlines. Description goes here. No, that's not how we start. Description goes here. And that sometimes also gets cut off. So you can see down here, it actually adds it. Okay, the website we're going to be sending people to, in this case, it's just a homepage that I'm sending people to, which is empty at the moment. So don't even have to look at that. But what we can do, when you click on the little build a URL parameter, what it's going to do is campaign source, campaign medium. What happens is in your analytics, if you want to figure out what worked, which link actually worked, you basically want to add these UTM codes. And because your analytics is going to say, this visitor came through Facebook on the news feed on the mobile device or an Instagram feed, because it sort of gives us an idea of where are we actually getting these clicks from, right? Once you start doing the analytics. Now, what I would always choose is campaign source, which is simply said the site source name. So if you click in that field at the very bottom, it's in brackets because it's dynamic. And then campaign medium is essentially the placement. You can see here, this is to identify the medium. For example, this could be a banner, an email, a Facebook feed, or an Instagram story. The other 2 you can leave open, but you can see now that my URL there's like a little question mark, and then the UTM source has been appended. Now, this link will work the exact same way as my normal link. But if I open this up, basically, it won't look any different to anybody who visits this page. This is literally what it would look like, but because the UTM code has been added behind that question mark, that's going to be fed through to our analytics, and we can then sort of start analyzing what actually worked for us. Primary text is the main body copy. So if I were to copy, I do that. I can't do that on my description. So the main copy you can see here has been expanded. The description is usually like, I think it's a 64 character line. That's literally, that's a maximum number of characters you can put in that. So the description is more like, running out of stock, or you might put in something like free shipping today or limited time only, like that kind of stuff. All right. Okay, so we've got the URL parameter, and always click on the preview to make sure that it actually loads, right? There's nothing worse than trying to run an ad to a page that you by accident might have misspelled or mistyped somewhere. So make sure it works before you hit that play button. Okay, the display link. Now, if you're looking to look a little bit more professional, like sometimes you'll have a website like on ClickFunnels, or you might be using a CRM tool and the link looks weird, right? It could be like a free website at wix.com/freebie or whatever. Like that looks like crap. So the display link is basically where you can say, look, I want this to show up as news.com.au. And you'll see here, just above the headline, it just shows that, hey, this is news.com.au. So that's basically the website name. Now, if I were to start this ad, Facebook is going to review it and say, well, hold on, you're not actually news.com.au, so you can't use this. So just use your own domain name here. And essentially, that cleans up any like weird link that you might potentially have if you use something like ClickFunnels. All right, now the call to action, you've got a few options here. Typically, I would just add 2 or 3, depending on what I'm trying to do. So learn more is usually one that works really well. But you could also have, for example, contact us. So these would be 2 options, and that learn now or learn more button here. Sometimes it's going to show learn more. Sometimes it's going to show contact us. And once again, we can start analyzing to see what works. If you don't have yeah, you can put in, like I would at least have a domain name. So you don't have to have a website, but if you have a domain name, that's probably good enough. Otherwise, yeah, just use the whatever you're actually sending people to. Okay, tracking. This is the pixel that I was talking about. So if you're going to run ads and you do not have this enabled or installed, Facebook is not going to learn what works and what doesn't work. So what the pixel does is it basically, like I said, it reports back to Facebook, right? So somebody visits your page, and let's say you've got an e-com store. So somebody looks at the product, they click on add to cart, they click on initiate checkout, and then they click on purchase. Now, what happens is all those events get reported back to Facebook. And Facebook knows that, hey, this Facebook user clicked on the ad, went all the way through to purchase, and that gets registered as an event that now has been completed. What Facebook is trying to do every 7 days, or in the time frame of 7 days, they try to look to get at least 50 conversions. Now, this could be 50 link clicks or 50 purchases or 50 add to carts, depending on what you're optimizing for, because that's how they learn, right? Your audience might have 1 million people in it, but within that million, what Facebook is going to do, once they get 50 events, they're going to look at, okay, these 50 people that actually triggered these events, what have they got in common? And they're going to look at the other people in that audience, and they're going to start showing your ads to people that are very similar to the initial 50 events that got recorded that week. Does that make sense? How Facebook would learn? So if they don't have the pixel data and you're basically got 1 million people in your audience, they're just going to randomly shoot out your ad to anybody who is at that stage eligible to receive your ad. Now, if you don't have the pixel tracking installed, they cannot learn, and your campaign is never going to optimize. It's going to stay expensive or even get more expensive. Sometimes you get lucky. If you have a smaller defined audience and you've got a very targeted niche product and your ad is really resonating with those people. But still, if you don't have the pixel, you can get lucky. But honestly, most of the time, you're just going to spend a lot of money. You're going to burn through your budget. So before any ads, always make sure that you check the website events button. And now you can see here that there's a pixel associated with this ad account, and that pixel ID is this number. And the way I can test that is if I go to this web page, and I've got a little tool that I've installed. It's called the Meta Pixel Helper. It's a Chrome extension, it's free. And all it does is if I go to my website, it'll show me, hey, we detected that this pixel is actually live on the website. And you can see here that a page view has, as an event, has been triggered. So we know for a fact that Facebook understands that we actually are monitoring that. Now, the other thing is if I were to go to my website here and I click on the Contact Us button, what happens now is you can see the event here, right? It actually turned into contact. So Facebook now knows this user went to the page, they clicked on contact, and we can now basically sculpt an ad campaign around, hey, we want to send ads to people who have clicked on our contact form in the last 5 days, whatever that might be. Okay, so I'm just going to close this up and I'm going to show you quickly Events Manager, because this is where the recording of that pixel data is going to go. And you'll see here that, let's have a look. To get a coach, am I in the right one? It should be, yep. Okay, so this is the pixel event data tracking. And you can see here on this website, like it's very low traffic. It doesn't get promoted at all. It's literally just a placeholder. But we can see here that all the activity in the last 28 days, so we've had about 82 people that must have visited the website or the web page at some stage randomly. And then we had several people who hit the contact button, right? So all these numbers, so 9 people on, what is it, the 2nd or the 3rd of Feb would have filled out a contact form. 4 people here filled out a contact form. So we can sort of understand, okay, we see that people are actually engaging with the page and we can optimize for these events. A good example is if you have, for example, an e-com store, once again, it's just an easy example. There's 4 elements or 4 events. So we got the view item, like I said before. So if somebody looks at the product page, Then the next logical step is they would click on add to cart. Then the next logical step is they initiate a checkout. And then the fourth one is a purchase. Now, quite often you'll see that between initiate checkout and a purchase, there's a big gap. So maybe 100 people clicked on initiate checkout, but only 20 people actually completed the purchase. Reason being is that, sorry, my cats are going crazy. I've got a kitten who terrorizes my older cat. Reason being is that people quite often go through initiate checkout, and then at the very last moment before they make a purchase, they see the shipping costs and they go, ooh, kind of don't want to pay an extra 20 bucks. So you know what, forget about it, and they leave. So what we can do with these events, we can build an audience and we can say, hey, Facebook, I want you to create an audience that is everybody who went all the way up to initiate checkout. They clicked on the initiate checkout button, but they didn't make a purchase. And what happens now is Facebook is going to build an audience purely of those people. And we can create an ad that we're going to send to those people. And that ad would say something like, hey, we've got free shipping in the next 24 hours, because most likely the shipping was the thing that deterred them or turned them off from actually purchasing. And what happens here is people are going to go, oh, wow, Facebook must be listening to my phone calls and whatnot, because I literally looked at this 2 days ago and I didn't buy it because it was, shipping was too expensive, but hey, we've got free shipping in the next 24 hours. I'm going to click on the ad, go back to my cart and complete my purchase. So this is how you would use the pixel data. Does that make sense? How you could really make a much better campaign if you use this type of information that Facebook gives you. And it's more than just literally like a lot of people still think that it's like a classified ad, right? You put an ad out there, like a static ad, and hoping somebody's going to call you or click on the link, and magic happens. Events and tracking is really, really important. All right, now in audiences, I'm just going to jump in there because this is where somebody had a question about audiences. No, I thought somebody had a question about audiences. Anyway, okay, there's 3 types of audiences. Now, when you start out with Facebook, you're going to have to create what's called a saved audience. And a saved audience is literally, we're telling Facebook, these are people that live in this location, this is their age, this is their relationship status, this is if their parents are not. So these are sort of predefined choices we can make. The second thing we can do is a custom audience. And this is going to be a much more powerful audience, because this works at the same principle as those 50 events per week. What happens is, let's say we've got a client list, a customer list of maybe 1,000 people, right? So the business has been in business for a while. We've got 1,000 clients on the books. And what we can do is we can upload our list into Facebook ads. And what happens is Facebook is going to figure out, right, these 1,000 people, clearly they are audiences, people that have made a purchase. These are clients, and we're going to try to find people that are very similar. Once again, within the max, in the bigger audience that you're giving us, we're going to try and hone in on the right people in there. Yes, you can, absolutely, Amanda. So you can definitely target those. I would possibly even target those with email campaigns, but yeah, we can get to that. Okay, so does it all make sense? So the targeting and getting in front of the people at the right time with the right messaging. So like I said, the free shipping is a great example, because 9 out of 10 times the free shipping is the main thing that puts people off from purchasing. If we take that objection away by sending an ad out just to those people, sometimes I see websites leading, as soon as you visit a website, it's like, hey, give us your email address, we'll give you 10% discount. Or the first ad that I would be sending out is like, hey, we've got a sale going on, we've got a 30% discount on these products. The problem there is that you're basically already giving things away before you even know that it's needed. And this is why retargeting is important. So if somebody's interested in the product, they're going to click on that ad regardless. They're going to look at the ad, they're going to look at the landing page. Now, if they decide not to buy at that stage, then there must have been an objection, which is typically pricing, availability, that kind of stuff. And now you can send them an ad to say, hey, we got a 30% discount happening this weekend. But only people that have visited the page will see that ad with the 30% discount. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you start off with the discount straight off the bat, right? So typically people don't go for sales. Like if they want to get the product, they're going to get the product. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Don't shoot yourself in the foot by already giving away the value buyer that you might have at that stage. Okay. So in here, you can do a few things. So obviously website. So what we can say is anybody who has, because we got the pixel installed on the website, so we can use that as a data source. And we can say, look, Facebook, everybody who visited the website for the last 30 days, or people who visited a specific page. So we can say, look, anybody who went to a product page, or anybody who went to the checkout, or whatever it might be, we can build an audience. And literally, we can target so many things in here. We can even say, like, okay, we want to have people that spend the top 10% of people who spend time on a specific web page, right? So we can, for example, say if somebody spent 20 seconds on a product page versus somebody who spent 2 minutes on a product page, the person with the 2 minutes is much more likely to be very interested in the product, but there is something holding them back. So you can build an audience based on that. All right, same thing here, naming convention, very important. Once again, if you do not have that and someone else might take over your account, it becomes really, really hard to figure out what you're actually targeting. So we can just say 30-day website visitors. And that's all you have to do, right? Same thing here. And then we can create that audience. Now, we're not going to create an audience because there's no need. I'm going to show you the last one here, which is a lookalike audience. So remember, the saved audience is when you have no data in your pixel. It's all brand new. You're basically just having a predefined set of criteria to say location, age, and relationship status, and whatever. If we then build a custom audience, that's much, much stronger. But what we can do is a custom audience can be the seed audience for a lookalike audience. And it's, once again, the same principle. The name sort of gives it away, right? The lookalike audience. So the 1,000 people that we would have uploaded into our customer list here, we can start targeting those people directly, obviously. But we can then say to Facebook, hey, can you create an audience for me based on those 1,000 people that I just uploaded? And what they're going to do is, if I pick a source here, and I'm going to just say no value, that's fine. We're going to say Australia. And then we can say, right, in Australia, I would like you to create maybe 2 lookalike audiences for me. There's a sliding scale here. And basically what it means is the closer to 0 we get. So is that actually going to let me do that? No. Okay, slider is broken. Just trying to get it back to 2%. Anyway, you see that the 0 and 1% is about 220,000 people in that audience. That's a lookalike audience, which is basically people that are very similar to the 1,000 people we just uploaded. Keep in mind that within that 220,000 people audience, like there's only going to be a very small percentage that are very similar. And the further down the line you get, say to the 10%, the less the affinity is. So typically I would always be testing with 2 different lookalike audiences. And it just helps us to have within the ad sets to see which one of these ad sets is actually performing better. All right, just going to cancel that. And I'm just going to go jump back into the ads. And once again, if there's any questions, I know this is a lot of information, feel free to ask. Now, I'm going to use the example of the campaign that I forgot to turn off a few weeks ago, like I said. So this is traffic campaign number 2. And what I did in here is it's the same setup we just went through. And I created the Australian, the Australian ad set first. And then I created the dynamic creative ad underneath that. And I'll show you what these ads are. So the funny thing is Facebook actually had to look at this ad before they approve it, before it goes live, right? So a human reviewer saw this ad a few weeks ago. As you can see, you can add multiple text options. We'll show one of them based on each person. Short headline, description goes here. Clearly, this is not an ad that should have been running, but Facebook is like, you know what? We're going to approve it and we're going to take your money. I'm just glad that I got the notification a couple hours later, because otherwise that would have cost me a bit more. But the good thing is I can actually show you some data here. So traffic campaign number 2, like I said, very similar to what we just set up, right? So we did the Advantage campaign budget plus here. We went then to an ad set, which is essentially the one we started off with was the Australian one. And then I created the ad within the Australian one. After I was finished with that, what I do is I basically select duplicate. So I picked one ad set and I duplicate. Everything stays the same. So it's the original campaign. We're just going to have one copy. But the change that I made let me just delete this one. The change that I made is obviously I switched from the Australian audience to the New Zealand audience in that specific campaign. So this is the duplication, and everything else is the same because the ad also gets duplicated across within the ad set, because campaign, ad set, and ad, they're all tied together. So I would always suggest set up your first ad set, create the ad that's associated with the ad set, and then once you're happy with all of that stuff, then just go back to your ad sets and duplicate. It'll duplicate your ad set plus the ad that you had in there. And then the biggest change that I obviously made here is that the audiences I was targeting here is New Zealand. And reason being, you can see here already, maximum time, performance and clicks. You can see here already that Facebook immediately favored the Australian audience over the New Zealand audience, right? So New Zealand didn't get any impressions. Facebook is basically like, yeah, this looks good. We're going to start sending that $20 a day to this audience. Now, reason being is that I think we're New Zealand is obviously like 8 hours behind or ahead of us. I'm not sure. But the time that I published this ad, most people would have been asleep in New Zealand. So we were getting no impressions, and Facebook decided, hey, we're just going to spend it in Australia because everybody here is up and awake and on their device. Main things that I'll be looking for here is link click-through rate. So let's say we both give these campaigns 1,500 or 2,000 impressions, right? So we want to make sure we can compare apples to apples. So they all have to have a similar amount of impressions before we make any judgment calls on which one works better. Now, obviously, there's no data in the first one, but let's say the second one, let's say they both had the same amount of impressions. I would look at the link click-through rate. This is very low. Typically, you'd want to get like a 1% link click-through rate for a cold audience or a safe audience. So somebody who doesn't really have any affinity with your brand just yet. If you're going to start retargeting and you upload your customer list and your lookalike, we're going to start getting the 2 or 3% link click-throughs. But let's say this one's going to get 0.28, and then the New Zealand one might have got 1%. I would have turned off the Australian campaign simply because we were getting a lot better click-through rate for the same budget on New Zealand. So does that make sense? How you would compare the two and see which one is actually giving you a better performance? Obviously, the second thing is the result that we'd be looking for. So in this case, we had 3 landing page views on Australia and nothing once again on New Zealand. But this is where you kind of have to look at, okay, even though my link click-through rate was better on the Australian campaign, we're actually getting more results on the New Zealand campaign, for example. And then you're going to have to make a judgment call to say, look, am I willing to pay a little bit more, but actually get more results, right? So this is sort of how you would measure up and try to find that sweet spot. Cost per click, this is obviously an important one because we kind of want to know how much I'm actually paying per click. And then the CPM, like I mentioned before here as well. So for this audience, we were paying $7.83 for every 1,000 impressions. That depends on the audience size, how popular it is, what event you're optimizing for. So this is pretty reasonable, but like if you're doing webinars, like somebody just asked, webinars, depending on how tightly you're targeting and maybe do some retargeting, your CPM might be actually like a lot higher, $15, $20, $30, depending on how it's been set up. Now you can imagine that if your CPM is 5 times as expensive, your budget is only going to go 20% of the way, right? So understanding that you have to find that sweet spot between what are you willing to spend, what's your cost per acquisition. So what are you actually willing to pay to get somebody to take a specific action, whether that's going to be register for a webinar, buy a wetsuit. And once you understand those numbers, you have a guideline and you can say, look, I can have these metrics here and I can run the ad campaign. As long as I stay within these metrics, we're going to be profitable. And this is what we talk about, like return on ad spend, ROAS. And what it means is like, essentially what it tells us, every dollar that we put in, we got a 3x, a 5x, a 10x on return, because Facebook can, with the pixel, see what the purchase value was, the purchase value. And they can say, well, we spent $10 on this ad. Your product was $100. So, you know, they sort of calculate and give you a number, like for every dollar you put in, you get $3 out. That's as basic as we can make it. And that's why you want to stick within the metrics. So if you understand how the metrics work and what to look for, what to compare, then you'll have a profitable campaign. Now, if your campaign isn't profitable and you're basically losing money, turn it off, get some new creative in, start testing again, right? That's, like I said in the beginning, it is all about testing and finding the right ads, simply because that's just logic. That's just how it works. All right, and then the last thing I quickly want to show you is the dynamic creative, right? So I'm going to jump into this ad here that actually got some views, and then on the breakdown section on the top, we can say I want to filter by dynamic creative element, and I want to see which image, for example, was giving the most clicks. So you can see here the image with the lady with the spoon or whatever she's eating. We got 2 clicks on that one, and then the flowers got 1 click, and the other page also got 1 click. Now, this is obviously a very small data set, so it's not really representative of the total success. But let's say we have a lot more clicks in here. This is, once again, the link click-through rate will show us, hey, you know what? We're actually getting better click-through rates, even though this one had more clicks, but they only get a 0.27%, whereas this 0.34%, technically, it means that for the same budget, we potentially would get more out of this ad image rather than the one that actually seems to be doing better. Sorry, we're gonna get close to the end here. So a couple of minutes. I know this is a lot of information to digest, but does it all make sense? At least the fundamentals of how Facebook works, how it tracks, how you can get your events to get optimized, to get better performance, what sort of metrics to look for. Does it all make sense so far? And you probably want to rewatch this. I think on our YouTube channel, they keep uploading these every single week. So feel free to jump in and pick one of the previous ones. Yeah, it's pretty tricky. Yeah. Look, I've been doing this for 12 years now, 11 years, Facebook ads, among a lot of other things, and I still learn new stuff every day. Once you get the fundamentals and you understand that the numbers are going to be your goalposts, as long as you stay within the lines, you should be having a profitable campaign. You check it every day. And what happens is, once you start seeing that an ad starts declining in success rate, then you can make a decision. Okay, we're going to stop this one. We're going to put a new ad in, or whatever sort of action you take. It's never a set and forget thing. It's always consistent optimizing and making sure that you stay on top of it. Anika says, run ads for his very best website, current posting ads that showcase retailers, which have recommendation awareness. Yeah, it really depends on the size of the audience and what you're trying to achieve, right? So if you're trying to get people into the shopping center, showcasing obviously the retailers is great, but then the offers, like you mentioned, is probably a good thing to actually pull people in. Retargeting is probably a big thing for you, because obviously when somebody visited a retailer, we can then, for example, upload the offline event data to say, hey, Facebook, these are people that have actually went into the store and bought stuff. Can you start targeting these people? Because now, for example, let's say one of the retailers might be selling a shampoo. We can then have an ad running technically in a couple of months that says, hey, we've got new shampoo in stock, and they're going to look at their bottle and say, oh, I'm nearly out of this stuff. I actually have to run to the stores and get some new shampoo, right? So that's how sort of complex you can make it. Christy, very welcome. A lot of information. How do you target people that have previously bought what I'm selling? So this would be an audience that you're either setting up as a, with the UTM code that we looked at. So we can say somebody who made a purchase, we can put those in a specific audience, right? So because the event has actually tracked the fact that this is the person who bought this product, and then you can have a specific ad that would go out. So in your case, this might be, we've got new colors, new patterns, or whatever it might be. But I would probably use email marketing rather than Facebook ads, because once you've acquired that person who's already bought something from you, much cheaper and quicker and easier and better converting to send them an email if you have new offers. Oh, somebody bought from someone else. You mean from like a competitor? That's a bit trickier. So this would be in your interest audiences. You can't really target people, because obviously we don't have access to that pixel data from your competitors. But we can do things with the creative, for example, to say, you might have a comparison between their boring wetsuit and your nice looking wetsuit, and say, hey, is this the thing that you're currently wearing and you're sick and tired of it? Why don't you come check this out? So that's sort of like how you would probably trying to get somebody across to click on your stuff. But targeting people, typically for this kind of product would be, look, anybody who actually is like a diver or has affinity with diving will potentially have a wetsuit. So that's sort of broad targeting, but you can't really get more specific with that. All right, I hope I answered everybody's questions, and I hope it made sense, at least learned something from this. I'm just going to make sure that I don't have these campaigns up and running, because otherwise I'm going to be paying for it again. Right, it's 11 o'clock. I got to log off, and we do this every week. So next week I'm going to be doing Google My Business and how to optimize Google My Business, how to get found on Google, how to make the most out of your profile. And then the week after, we're going to jump straight back into Facebook ads. So feel free to join the next one. And other than that, I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday, a great week, and I might catch you in the next one. See you, everyone.